Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Odin sent me a package of heat. I have a ton of mouse pads to go over with you guys. Let's check them out. There are a ton of colors to choose from when it comes to getting a Odin Infinity now, compared to when the Odin Infinity first released. We have the new colorways, one in white, one in baby blue, baby pink. You have the new version, the V3 in black, with that very, very nicely revised stitched edging. You have red and you have galaxy purple. I would say my favorite color out of all of the options is the galaxy purple, and I think to match my setup I also like the white, which is actually kind of an off gray. We will get into the stitching difference of the colors as well as the V3, but honestly the stitched edging is so good on the colored ones that it's really not that big of a deal going from the V2 or the colors to the black V3. There is definitely a nice quality upgrade going to the black V3, but the stitched edging on the V2 is so good that it's not the largest concern of mine. So, of course, the most important question is how does this perform in-game, and I'm happy to say that on a competitive grinding level, this is definitely not a pad that I would have any issue using and playing at my top competitive level. I love the additional smoothness while gliding in-game. I feel it adds an extra element to just comfort and consistency in Apex. And as far as tac shooters are concerned, it is nice to have a little bit more smoothness, in my opinion, just for me personally, with flick shots and feeling very, very controlled on static movements because the pad is not too speedy for either static or dynamic friction. As far as the days or occasions where I am over-aiming, I do have the core pad skates on my G Pro Superlight. These are the control skates, and I still feel that the pad has no tug on static friction movements. When I am doing little circles, I don't feel a tug. Very maneuverable, but not speedy, not too buttery, where your mouse is kind of just getting that extra movement. And on dynamic friction, it is a nice smooth movement as well. The control skates from CorePad are absolutely awesome. I love having these and mixing them in with my glass skates on days where I feel like I'm kind of just not very consistent. And I am generally on glass skates 99% of the time, but I do like having the option to choose a little bit more control when needed. Next, the big question is there a difference between the colored version of the pad and the original color of the pad in black? And there is a noticeable difference, although it's not a huge leap of smoothness and less abrasiveness compared to the black version. On the skin, I find it to be a little bit less irritable and a little bit smoother on the colored version. Again, not a huge leap in that regard, but enough for me to actually prefer the colored version of the pad over the black, especially while gliding. I feel that with my mouse movements, it just feels a little bit more buttery, even with PTFE skates. And with the glass super glides, also noticeably a little bit more buttery and a little bit less audible on mouse swipes on the colored version of the pad than the black. Both very, very good. It really just depends. If you want a little bit more texture, go for the black. If you want a little bit more smoothness, go for the colored versions of the pad. The black is definitely a comparable competitor to the Artisan Hien and the Lethal Gaming Gear Mercury. Really can't go wrong with either of those pads. It really boils down to how much speed, how much control do you want with either PTFE skates or super glides or glass skates from Lethal Gaming Gear. And I think either of these pads could be anybody's main pad for either tac shooters or something like Apex Legends. Compared to the Razor Strider, the pad is a little bit more cushioned than the Strider. The Strider is actually quite on the hard side. As far as the stitched edging, I definitely give it to the Razor Strider, but as far as the glide, I give it to the Odin Infinity. With glass skates, the pad feels, again, buttery. On the Razor Strider with glass skates, you can still feel a lot of that hardness, a lot of that abrasiveness, and it just doesn't quite feel nearly remotely as good as the Odin Infinity. The Strider feels noticeably faster on dynamic movements with glass skates, and even on those slow inner hand movements, the Strider feels quite a bit faster than the Odin Infinity, even with glass skates. Definitely noticeably faster on those inner hand movements, even with the CorePad control skates compared to the Odin Infinity. And dynamic movements while moving the mouse, it doesn't feel that much different than the Odin Infinity on dynamic, but I would definitely say quite a bit faster just as a result of the increased toughness of the pad. Comparing the pad to a Artisan Hien, of course the Hien has that amazing cushioning, it has that amazing stitched edging, which is top tier, still the best in the business in my personal opinion. But the surface, again, is a nice balanced middle ground compared to a Hien. I personally find the Hien to be quite a bit faster than the Infinity in the colored version. On glass skates and on those PTFE skates, you can kind of hear the glide is much, much louder on the Artisan Hien. You feel that grit on PTFE skates quite a bit more than the Odin Infinity. And when you are kind of getting those inner hand movements, even with the core pad control skates, it is a little bit more fast, a little bit easier on those movements on the Artisan Hien, and the dynamic movements feel quite a bit faster as well compared to the Odin Infinity colored version. Again, I think the nice middle ground, the nice balance is the Odin Infinity. This is what I play better on. But if you are looking for a pad to swap to and you want that additional speed, something that opens up that movement a little bit more, the Artisan Hien is still a fantastic pad. And a pad that I absolutely love and adore is the Lethal Gaming Gear Venus pad. I would say with glass skates, it feels a little bit smoother on those inner hand movements, a little bit more effortless on those inner hand movements on the Venus, a tad bit more controlled on the Odin Infinity, but with glass skates, the differential is very, very close. Dynamic movements feel a little bit smoother, a little bit faster, in my opinion, with glass skates on the Venus, but it is, again, very, very close. With PTFE core pad control skates, I would say that the dynamic friction on the pads is actually kind of very, very close, too close to kind of call which one's faster than the other. Inner hand movements feel very, very close as well, so similar in speed, I would say a hair slower on the Odin Infinity. I would say the stitched edging, of course, is a little bit better on the Lethal Gaming Gear Venus. But again, the stitched edging on the Odin colored versions is very, very good. It's not going to cause you an issue, in my opinion. Should not be a limiting factor on whether you should buy the pad or skip the pad. It kind of comes down to, if you want some additional color, the Odin has fabulous options. And if you are looking for a very good balanced pad that is buttery smooth, especially with glass skates, the Odin Infinity is a very, very good pad, but you can't go wrong with any of the pads that we discussed in this video. Odin also sent me the desk pad size of the Otos Alex Infinity pad. I think this is awesome. This is definitely what we needed. We needed those big pads with art design on hybrid surfaces that are not coated, that feel very good for performance, and something that feels very good in appearance, so that you don't have to swap out constantly when you're looking for either a pad that looks good or a pad that performs good. This pad is an absolute banger if you're looking for performance and style. I think it looks absolutely amazing, and again, it plays just as good as all of the other Infinities that we discussed in this video. This is something that I think feels a little bit smoother than the original black. It is more aligned with the colored versions of the pad. But again, looks great, feels great, and the stitched edging on this size of the pad looks absolutely phenomenal. So guys, I am currently maining the colored version of the Odin Infinity. I think it is an amazing pad. I had no issue with the stitched edging. I think it looks clean, it looks aesthetically pleasing, and I think that the pad has a nice level of cush, and the consistency, the feel of it on glide, either with PTFE or glass, feels very, very good. I think it is a very good balanced pad, not overly fast, not overly slow, something that I feel very consistent on. And again, I just love the feel of the glide. So again, I think if you're looking to upgrade from the V2 Black to the V3 Black with those new stitched edges, it is certainly something that I would recommend if you have an issue with the stitch edging. I certainly don't have an issue with this version of the stitch edging. I think both are very, very good. But if you do want a little bit more aesthetically pleasing stitched edging, something that feels a little bit better, the V3 is definitely recommendable. And those full art version pads in the hybrid surface are absolutely awesome. They feel great, they look great. Definitely a nice way to have a performance level pad that looks absolutely phenomenal on your desk, something that you won't have to swap out to for looks and or performance. So I definitely recommend the pads, guys. I hope that helped, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Peace.